C2 Wrestling Podcast. The boys are back. I am in another city and in 6 hours flying to another city to go to another city. But before I do any of that, before I pack the mess that's down by my side, I'm here, CTD in Snowden. I'm staring at the World Heavyweight Championship beside Snowden. That might be the second most important thing that we talk about because the most important is how you doing today, Snowden.
Ah, you know, you're going city to city to city. It's like cityception. You asked me how I'm doing today. Today is yesterday to me. Yesterday's tomorrow. My sleep is so fucking out of whack this whole week. It's all one. I'm here. I'm alive. But man, I've pulled as my power flickers. If you saw that, Undertaker's
Yeah.
about to show up. A little bit of a nor'easter, the leftovers of that. But I am all over the place. Full disclosure, we're recording this at midnight. The dedication for C2 Wrestling is there. I was going to be up anyways, but pulled a
I
couple
just got
all-nighters
out of
this week.
work.
Yeah, just got out of work. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get any sleep tonight. So I'm doing, but I'm hoping I catch some Z's after this. That's the plan.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet that you don't.
Yeah, I'm going to bet that I am up when you get up.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're hoping to be, the meme of Kurt Angle when he's like, and Triple H is about to punch him. You're hoping that's, Mr. Sandman, not ECW Sandman. Bring me a dream, Sandman. That ain't happening, pal. You're dodging that punch, hitting a German, hitting an angle slam, throwing the ankle lock in, you name it. You've
Yeah,
got no
well,
luck.
just for disclosure, I guess to the C2 fans out there, today is Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, technically. I think it was fucking Friday into Saturday. I didn't go to bed until 7 for Crown Jewel. Woke up at 8 on the dot, watched Crown Jewel, didn't go back to sleep after, got 45 minutes of sleep. Went to bed that night around like 9 o'clock, I think. And I slept, you would think great because I had no sleep. I slept horribly that night, but until like 11:30 in the morning, I slept for like 14 something hours. That was a mistake because I didn't go to sleep Sunday night. I just stayed up. Again, I got no sleep. So then last night, Monday night, I at 7:58 in the morning, Monday morning, went, oh, Raw's on. I might as well just watch a little bit of Raw. And I fell asleep at like 9 a.m. for like 3 hours. I woke up at like noon. And then I went to bed at like 9 p.m. last night, woke up at 12. Don't even care. I'm telling everybody, took a monstrous piss in the middle of the night. Didn't go back to bed till 4:35 a.m. And here I am. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me, but that's it. That's the story of my life over the last couple of days.
We've had conversations about living in different countries if we would be able to
Oh,
handle the time zone. I'm actually here to break some news to you, Snowden.
hmm.
You could
Yeah, because I do it. Yeah, I live on Australia time, fucking
because
essentially.
because you would just then be staying up throughout the night in Australia and it would be like you're awake during the day. You'd watch football, you'd watch wrestling, you name it. You would be just fine.
I remember texting you a little bit about that during Crown Jewel. Like, I don't know how I could ever travel to some time zone like that. You go an hour or two time zone difference, maybe not the biggest deal. But if I was to move there, yeah, maybe I could. But like, if I were to do like a week's travel in Australia, I don't think I would ever recover from the back and forth time changes. I think that would forever mess me up. I mean, still to this day, even though all nighters are just pulled, I'm still backed up on sleep from middle school, like never catching up. But 28 years old, I shouldn't be doing this anymore.
I'm glad you mentioned time zones because you said, "Oh yeah, it's midnight." I looked at my phone. I'm like, "No, it's not.
Not for you.
I forgot. I'm an hour behind you. I'm in
Yeah.
Milwaukee.
Yep.
It's
Midnight for
only
me.
11." I'm like, "No, it's not." Yes, it is. It is
Yeah.
midnight East Coast. Didn't even think of that.
Yep.
And in a couple hours, 12 hours, on the West Coast, and it'll be even further back in time.
Think about this. When you got to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm still up, it's 6 a.m. for me. So, you
Yeah,
know.
that is true. You mentioned waking up for Raw or being awake for Raw.
Yep.
I had work early. I was able to get a workout in, thankfully, and I was in the gym when Raw came on. So I was watching it while getting my incline walk in. It was very weird because SmackDown and Crown Jewel, I was actually out in LA. It
Hmm.
was 5 in the morning when those shows started, and I was like, wow, this is even weirder.
Brutal. I saw people asking, like, man, Australia's got to get a WrestleMania. Listen, I'm sorry to all the Aussies out there, but if you do, you guys are being up at 5 a.m. I'm sorry. That shit is airing 8 p.m. Eastern time. I do not care. Yeah.
You know, the UFC, they do some events where they did a pay-per-view in England.
Hmm.
Um, Tom Aspinall was the co-main event, and the main event was Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. And they did it catering to the
Hmm.
Eastern time zone. So they did their walks for the main event. It's like 5 in the morning there. They're fighting in the middle of the night. You know, if you're on the earlier card, you're fighting at 3 in the morning, whatever. You have to
Crazy.
just you are completely fucked up. And you know, fighters are from all around the world, so I can only imagine the change.
Hmm.
It's nice when you're on the East Coast and everyone caters to you.
Yeah.
But you know, there's the times where, all right, Raw's in Australia this time. You know, we got to deal with it. I would rather watch it live than taped and see the spoilers
Hmm.
before Raw because there's plenty to talk about throughout the show, but really one specific thing. Getting this out there. It's Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, as you mentioned. Wednesday, there might be news. So something that we say could possibly be debunked. It could be changed. It could be true. We're gonna date this podcast
Hmm.
for that sake. Before the show, we were texting and you said something that I couldn't stop thinking about when the show ended. Do you know what that was?
No, what did I say? My sleep is so fucked up. Couldn't
That
pay me
is
to remember.
that is
Yeah.
very true. We were talking about Dom and Penta,
Okay.
and you said it would be cool to see Penta win. We thought Dom would win,
Yeah.
but there's no way they do that big of a moment at 8 in the morning.
There's no way. You would think. There's
You
no
would
way.
think there's no way.
Not a chance.
Then we get to the last segment of the show, and I said, "Well, he was right because it is 10:30 in the morning."
Yeah, yeah.
He was right. But boy, we got one of the biggest moments possibly of the year, bright and early, no matter where you are.
Hmm.
And it's got us. It might be the main and only topic of discussion because this Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed turning on Seth Rollins, that is an onion. And we've got a million layers of it to peel.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually peeled and cut an onion earlier tonight, so that's
That's
relevant.
disgusting.
It's delicious, actually. Onions are fantastic. Anyways, you know, around noon on Monday, I arose, I checked my phone, and you were texting me some System of Down lyrics. Wake up. Oh my God, you missed it. You know, and
Makeup.
I woke up and I was like, okay, shit, I gotta put this on. I'm gonna watch the show. I don't want spoilers, and I turn it on. And as I turn it on, I grab my phone and like a fly to the light, I see I got an Instagram notification. So I click on it. And the first thing, it wasn't even what was sent to me. It was just the first post was the breakup of the Vision. Now, there is a lot to like unravel within this. And we'll get to the potential injury side of Seth Rollins. But yes or no? I just want a straight yes or no. Are you happy that they broke them up?
Um, I should say I'm not happy, but I'm not sad.
Okay.
So if it's a yes or no, I'll say yes.
Okay, interesting. I'm not. I guess I'm in a middle boat too, where I feel like in our last few podcast reviews, whatever we put out weekly, we've talked. Vision is great. We don't want them to break up anytime soon. We want this to ride out a while. And I would have liked to see that continue. Yes, I do think, in a year, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, when you look back, you're not really going to remember the Vision. It's going to kind of almost be looked back upon more fondly. Don't get me wrong, but it's almost like the Edge version of the Judgment Day. No one's talking about that. I do think they're going to continue the Vision. I think it's going to be Bronson. I think there's more room for other members, especially now considering Seth seems to be out of it. Um, Happy that they broke him up. I'm a little disappointed in that sense, but you almost can't argue it in a way under the potential circumstances and in the way they did it. Braun Breaker is ready. Don't get me wrong. Bronson Reed is ready. Don't get me wrong. So it makes sense, but I think there was more life to that faction. I think they could have rode it out a bit longer, even if Seth is injured. Again, we'll get into that whole side of it. I think they could have rode them out, staying as a stable. But Seth goes out, you need a new big bad. And I guess that's going to be Braun Breaker. I guess that's the route they're kind of going there. I'm still like, I've been thinking about it all day the last day or two. Like, man, I can't believe they broke them up. Like, is it too soon? Should they have done it? I'm a little indifferent on it. I got to see where it ends up going.
Here's my one like massive point of it. Like you said, we'll get into like the possible injury of it because that's a big piece of it. Because if he is injured, it it's a massive monkey wrench into this decision to where if you're upset about it, you should understand more if Rollins is going to be out for 9 months,
Mhm.
whatever it may be. They have teased from the jump Braun Breaker turning.
Yeah.
Literally since this faction started, they teased Braun Breaker clear as day. He's turning on Rollins at some point. My big gripe with people, we say it all the time. They're never happy. Social media, they're never happy. I was on Twitter during the show. When they were teasing it in the first segment, I saw they're going to make Braun Breaker be like Randy Orton. He's just going to stare at the title for a few months. This is going to go on for over a year, and they're going to keep teasing it forever and ever. This is going to go on longer than Finn turning on Dom, blah, blah, blah. Then he turns. Then I see this was way too quick. They had a year more, a year or more on this story. This should have happened around WrestleMania. You name it. They set themselves up in a perfect spot on purpose or on accident with immediately teasing Braun Breaker is going to turn on Seth Rollins and not having them be all happy go lucky for their first 6 months or whatever, however long the faction lasted. If you want to go, oh, it feels sudden. They've teased from the first day that this wasn't going to last. It's not like they've been BFFs and they're tag team champions and it's completely out of left field. If we go back, it's every week they were teasing it that Braun Breaker was going to turn on him or Bronson Reed wasn't believing in him. So whether we took them serious or not, it ended up being true. It happened in a respectable time. If we go back in time and start looking, all right, at that point he did this. At this point, he did this on his own. At this point, he did this. Then really, in 4 or 5 months, that's a perfect amount of time for someone to turn on someone.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I just think like the stature of the stable, who was involved in it, the level of it, it feels, and again, maybe it is rushed. Maybe this was plans changed one day in between Crown Jewel and Monday Night Raw, but it feels a bit rushed in that sense. I do think again there was more life to the Vision as a whole. They could have rode out a little bit longer. Um, the idea I've seen even tossed around. I discussed it a little bit on the Monday Night Raw review, Monday morning Raw review. Is there a world where the Vision does continue with Seth? Let's say Seth isn't hurt. Does he come back at some point? Hey, like, I was wrong. I did need you. I did need you. Maybe he helps them finally win gold or something and they do reform stronger than ever. Who knows? I don't think so, especially with Bron holding the title and all that. It only makes sense for them to deviate from whatever the original plan was. But I think that's the point is this was not the original plan. It was to break them up. That's the original plan of every faction of all time eventually. Some factions aren't meant to continue for more than 1 week or tag teams even. A random throw out, but RK Bro was not supposed to be a thing, but it worked, so it is a thing. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe they didn't feel the vision was working as well as it could have. I do. I think it was. I think it was a great faction. I think a lot of Raw over the last couple of months has been rather repetitive, so that doesn't help. But I still think that's been a shining light in Monday Night Raw has been the vision. Where I'm like a little, I guess, butthurt with it is, man, I wanted that Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker tag title run so bad. And I guess it can still happen. Don't get me wrong. But it feels weird for that to happen when you got Braun holding the World Heavyweight Championship up now. And is Bronson Reed just okay with that? Is Bronson Reed just going to go after the IC title? And sure, Braun, you can have the bigger, better championship. I don't quite know where they're going. They clearly made it look like neither Bronson Reed nor Paul Heyman knew that was going to happen. Bronson Reed, or Braun Breaker rather, did that on his own. He speared Seth, told Bronson, told Heyman, you're either with me or you're not. And they both decided they're with Braun Breaker. So that's continuing. Where does it go from here? That's the question, I guess.
They definitely have to add someone. Like, I'm not saying next week, but they're going to need one, maybe even two more people just for logistics, like you're mentioning. Clearly, Braun Breaker's the
Head honcho.
head, the words right out of my mouth.
Well, we have the same brain. So
That is valid. Clearly, he's going to be the head honcho. Bronson Reed ain't no slouch either, but when you throw, we'll get into some potential names, but you throw someone else in there, maybe that person slides in with Bronson Reed, and that's his tag partner after a few weeks. You establish them together. I do want to mention Sean Ross Sapp hit the nail on the head with his post during, I think it was either during Crown Jewel or right after. And it was like, what exactly is the kayfabe reason for them staying with Seth Rollins? Bronson Reed just pinned Roman Reigns in a one-on-one match. The second person in this decade to do it, next to Cody Rhodes. Braun Breaker is ready. We already know, like, he is next level. He takes everybody out. They're built to the main event. Then you have Rollins' promo, and he tells them himself, this is the mountaintop. You guys have made it. That right there is immediately, we don't need you. We've made it. Before, the vision made sense where it's, I'm taking you guys there. You're not ready yet, but you're on your way up. Like, I'm going to bring you guys there. That line of, fellas, you're here, is immediately the light bulb. You're right. We are here. Now I want that. What's behind you? What's next to your couch? I want that. I'm here. I'm in the main event. I'm on Raw multiple times a night. I'm in the main event every single night. I'm on PLEs. What the fuck do you need to be my leader for? I'm here. Like, I've arrived. So people who argue that this didn't help them, insanity. That is the craziest part about all of this. Because Bronson Reed, who we both love, is the biggest example of he's leveled up since he's come back, partnered with Rollins, been in this sphere of people. They went from, we love Jay, but the Jays and the Sammys and the Braun Strowmans, like, those are great names, but you're lying to yourself if it's not a jump to go from that to Seth, Roman, Punk. You're in a different sphere now. And that's where those guys are. So we'll talk about the injury in a second, but they're going to be just fine now.
They are going to be just fine. That question by Sean Ross Sapp, what's the kayfabe reason for them to stay with Seth? I get that, but I do think that's like a question you can ask to almost any faction tag team in a way too. Kayfabe, why hasn't Montez Ford broke off from Angelo Dawkins and reached stardom yet? Judgment Day. Why hasn't Finn finally just said screw this and gone on to turn on Dom and do better things? Uh, it's a faction. The idea again, as you hit the nail on the head, the vision, like I'm helping you guys get there. That's Seth Rollins to Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And Braun Breaker had a IC title run for a while, two IC title runs to be technically. So he's already kind of had that mid card run. Bronson Reed, maybe not so much in the main roster outside of the wins over guys like Roman Reigns and whatnot. And you said it too, when you're in the ring with guys like CM Punk and Roman Reigns and whatnot, that is the main event. You are in with the main event. It's if they were on SmackDown, it would be against Cody Rhodes, and then the Drew McIntyres and the Randy Ortons. Those are the main event picture guys. I do think again in kayfabe, like it's just a faction. It's a you help me, I help you type deal. We help you be world champion, continue this run. You help us reach even more stardom. I may have beat Roman Reigns, but we haven't had gold yet. Help us get these tag titles. So I do think there is reason to continue it. And again, I think that was the idea, was to continue it. I am of the belief, and you said this in the beginning, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, we're recording this. Things can change before this video even drops. News can come out. We might be making shit up. Seth Rollins looks to be injured. That is the idea. That's the rumors coming out. Looks like it was off that coast-to-coast headbutt at Crown Jewel. Shoulder, rotator cuff, whatever it is. If it is a rotator cuff and he's going to surgery or even just a shoulder, see ya. See ya. You're out 9 months. It's 8 to 9 months probably. I believe that's the same Chad Gable injury. He's been out for a little while. So that can force a change of plans for sure. Is there a way to still maintain the stable even with Seth hurt and he comes back? Yeah, probably. But if Seth comes back in 9 months, it would have only lasted another month probably anyways. It would have ended up with the eventual breakup because Bronson and Bron would have leveled up even more and more and more over the next 9 months. So why not create that moment? People have been begging, which I don't give a shit what the Twitter fans say, but people have been begging all over, especially on Twitter. Monday Night Raw's been boring. SmackDown is bad booking, In spots, it is great. It shines, but it has been, again, repetitive. So change it up. You have these guys turn on Seth. I think the injury is part to do with it, though. Without the injury, I do think this continues on for at least till WrestleMania. I could see it would have lasting a year. Night after WrestleMania, I think they would have turned on Seth Rollins. But we'll never know now.
Yeah, I mean, unless they tell us. I agree. I think War Games was probably something that faction was going to be doing in some aspect, just because what the hell else would be War Games if it wasn't the main faction on your main show? I can't remember if it was Rollins' fake knee injury or if it was a Punk injury or an Orton injury, or there was some point that we talked about some injury or like Roman missing time, whatever. And we made the point, and it's very relevant now. If this were some odd years ago and you lose a guy like Rollins, man, it's such a death blow. And don't get me wrong, like I'm upset Rollins is hurt. I love Rollins. Rollins is fantastic. And on top of it, he's a human being. I don't want him to be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, WWE is in such a good spot in two aspects when it comes to this situation. One, they just have a plethora of names right now where it truly is the next man up mentality. We're talking about it all the time. Like, man, this frees up the world title. Maybe we get an LA Knight run. Maybe we get a Punk quick run and whatever. It kind of bounces around a little bit. Whatever. There's so many names that are still to the level of Rollins, above him, or just a hair below him, that they'll be okay. But the biggest thing is they set a lot of these stories up to where something like this does happen. Yes, this feels like a quick pivot, but you can make sense of it. This quick turn, it's not like, I don't know. It's not like if, I'm trying to think of something random, like if Becky just turned face next week.
Sure.
Because because Rhea Ripley gets hurt, so Becky just immediately turns face. You'd be like, this makes zero sense. There's no backstory to this. There's no avenues, there was no seeds planted, nothing. They have so many stories with so many people, so many intertwined things that if someone goes down, they can do a quick pivot. And yes, we know it's a quick pivot, but it doesn't feel as drastic as, say, the night after WrestleMania 39 when Brock Lesnar just randomly takes out Cody Rhodes. And it's like, this is the most fucking. The exit was in 3 miles, and we drove 45 miles and took that exit.
Yeah, it is it's a shame it's happening through an injury again. If that is the case, again, things can change. Who knows? Uh, Whether it is or isn't, or this was planned from the beginning or wasn't planned to break them up on this past Monday Night Raw, it's going to go hard on season 2 of Unreal. I'll tell you that. But it's a shame to me. And this is maybe a little bit of a sidetrack from the overall topic, but it's a shame to me that the pivot is great in a way. Don't get me wrong; they executed it well, but it happens because of a obviously unwanted injury in any fashion. But the injury stems from a match that shouldn't have happened. That hits hard when you think about it like that. It was a fucking fantastic match. They put on a banger. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, crown jewel for the championship, for the ring. Great match. 4.5, 5 stars, 10 stars, however the fuck you want to rate it.
What did Cage Match give it?
Let me check the 13 people that vote on fucking Cage Match. I have no idea. But I fucking hate that thing. Oh, don't even get me started. Whew, don't even get me started. I'm heated now. Heated now. Oh, God. That was not where I was going. Now that you say it, I want to go on a tangent so bad, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna continue with the idea that it comes from a match that, again, nobody was really asking for right now. So it sucks a little bit harder when you think about it like that. Rollins could have defended the title against LA or Punk or whoever at Crown Jewel and still got injured. Who fucking knows? It could have happened any which way. But there is, as you said, an insane amount of talent on this WWE roster. I think back to 06, 07, going to a Monday Night Raw and getting the shirt that has the roster on the entire shirt, and it's Batista and Cena and Taker and Flair. Carlito's in there, and there's a couple other guys mixed in, Booker T and Finley. I know where Finley sat comparatively to John Cena and whatnot. There was 4 to 6 main guys, between those two brands. There was 10 to 12 like full talent outside of the tag teams and the smaller divisions. Nowadays, man, I mean, you got Bronson and Bron, you got LA and Punk, you got Jay, you got Fatu, Cody, Drew, Sammy, you got guys coming up, you got Carmelo in the mix somewhere, you got Aleister Black, Damian Priest, Finn, Dirty Dom, it's Penta, Phoenix. Like, the talent is just endless at this point. This is your opportunity that, again, even though it sucks, Seth, you never want a guy to get hurt. You don't want him to get hurt in the fashion he did in the match that shouldn't have happened. But it's weirdly maybe a blessing in disguise for the overall story of wrestling right now, for Monday Night Raw, where they can go. I don't think they're going to put the title on Penta quite yet, but this absolutely, as you said, as we were texting, opens the door. You almost have to pull the fucking trigger on an LA Knight title or LA Knight title run at some point now, right? Like, you almost, if you don't do it, it's almost a slap in the face to LA Knight and the fans. The bigger names, even like the Punks of the world, will almost more so get their time again eventually. But now is where you pull the trigger and say, fuck it. Drew's on Monday Night Raw. Let's put the title on Drew. Let's give LA Knight that run. Something like that. I think you strike while the iron's hot here. And I think you go crazy with it. CM Punk's #1 contender. I imagine he faces LA Knight if that's the pivot off the Seth Rollins injury. You put the belt on LA Knight, right?
I'd imagine Braun Breaker's in the mix.
I guess, yeah. I guess
LA
didn't get
him holding up the title
yeah.
makes me think he's in the mix somehow.
I think he's going to want the belt. I think that's the idea. I think the overall feud is Punk versus Braun, but especially with War Games coming up too, I think they're holding off on that one. I think we could get it's still a big match, Punk versus LA Knight, but that's smaller in regards in a way to Braun versus Punk. But this is where you kind of have that chance to hot potato the title a little bit. Not everybody that I just named has to hold it, but this is your chance to do something special with it. You made a special moment on Monday Night Raw with breaking up the Vision. You can make a couple more special moments by having this belt land on somebody that nobody expects. You expect it to go to Bron. I expect it to go to Bron, to Punk. I think this is the chance to do something fresh with it, but fucking good God, they need a shake up so bad.
Well, this is like the ultimate refresher. SmackDown was good.
Yeah, SmackDown was
SmackDown
great. Yeah.
was refreshing
Hmm.
because it was all these different
Fireball.
stories. The Fireball, Aleister Black is at a new level. We're getting Drew McIntyre versus Jacob while teasing Cody facing Jacob, teasing Cody facing Orton, you name it. It felt like you get the MFT coming out, going for the US title and the tag titles, potentially feuding with all the Wyatt Six, like completely fresh.
It just hit me. Is that going to be the War Games match?
Yeah,
I didn't even think
probably.
about that. How'd that not even
That's
cross my mind? The Wyatt Six and Sammy
yeah,
versus
you that is 1,000,000% the lack of sleep. You know that.
maybe. Yeah, I guess.
Because
Yeah.
it was rumored a few weeks ago and
We
we've
tossed it around weeks ago. Yeah. But
yes.
off the back of like Tamatonga and them facing down with Wyatt Six, that just didn't even cross my mind for some reason post that moment on SmackDown. But yeah, maybe that's the pivot. Maybe the main roster guys don't get the War Games match now.
Now the killer though is Survivor Series is in a baseball stadium. There is a better chance that there's a live recording of our podcast as the main event over MFT versus the Wyatt Six and War Games being the main event. I like both
Yeah.
factions. There's no fucking way in hell that would main event that show. Like just a negative
Yeah.
percent chance.
I mean, I actually think that could be a great War Games match. I think those are two factions, especially
Yeah.
Wyatt Six, that would be prepared to go like heavy with the spots, the weapons, all that. Could be the most fun War Games match we've gotten in that sense, but not over any potential Punk versus whoever match for the title, Braun versus whoever for the title, LA, Cena, who knows? No way.
So that's where I want to talk about Rollins as well, because Survivor Series, Rollins was obviously going to be a prominent person because he's the fucking world champion. They almost gave some seeds that maybe we get Punk Rollins again at Survivor Series. You know, that I don't know. Rollins was going on the whole "I'm the best in the world," blah blah blah, and you start thinking, is he going to face Cena? He's talking about being the greatest of all time, whatever. Then obviously the adrenaline wears off. Arm isn't doing too well, whatever. There is a great chance now. You, I believe, sent it to me earlier. They put out the cover for Saturday night's main event. CM Punk's on it. Now, I don't want that to be the spoiler, but Saturday night's main event, you can really establish like a strong new lineage of that show having Goldberg's retirement match, say whatever you want about it, then having a vacant World Heavyweight Championship title match
Mhm.
on it, and then John Cena's final match.
Yeah.
Like, that is an insane run for a show that we pretty quickly was like, this is nothing more than a house show.
An exhibition,
Yeah.
and just to think about it even a little bit more fondly, it will have the John Cena retirement match. It looks like it might have a vacant World Heavyweight Championship match, but it didn't just have Goldberg's retirement. It had Gunther retiring Goldberg. That's a better way
Yeah.
to look back on that one. The GOAT, that's another guy. When's he going to come back in the mix? Where does he fit into the bigger picture of all this? Seth Rollins was clearly going to be a big picture, big main player for Survivor Series. He could have been the fucking guy to go against Cena at Saturday Night's main event. That's not impossible. There's 100 names on the roster. There's 4 to 5 guys in the mix of being the final Cena opponent, and 2 of them are probably way heavier in favor than some others. But Rollins was in that 5, probably. You know, the rumor, for Survivor Series, this has been tossed around. It is in San Diego as well. It does make a lot of sense for Cena to take on Dirty Dom. I can see that happening as well. That would be a fantastic matchup. I don't need Cena winning the fucking IC title. I don't think that's going to happen anyways. But Survivor Series is shaping up. You got Saturday night's main event shaping up. What is it, November 1st that is booked for, right? Something like that too. So that's pre-Survivor Series, obviously. But you, again, have some fresh stories now off the back of this Seth injury. Vacant world title match. CM Punk is the face of the cover. He's obviously in it. Do you book it against LA? Do you book it against Bron? Is it a triple threat? What do you do?
I would I would probably do Punk versus LA. Probably. The only thing is, how do you get Braun Breaker to not be in the match? The only answer would be he would need someone else to be feuding with. I don't know who that is because he's not going to face Roman. Better not face the fucking Usos. And obviously, if Rollins is hurt, which I want to talk about that specifically in a moment, if he's hurt, he's obviously not going to face Rollins, which normally when a turn happens, like that's the match to make. You're in a spot where you can't make that match. So I don't know. Maybe you do a triple threat and you have Braun Breaker not take the pin, and the finish is between those two, and then Braun Breaker is back into the mix. It just feels tough right now to look at how that show ended. Look at where they've now positioned Braun Breaker and not sit here and be like, okay, if he's not world champion in the next 2 or 3 months, we've gone off the rails here. Something has gone wrong. Because I don't know how else you could justify him not becoming world champion after that exact moment unless he gets sidetracked because he's the guy to face Cena in his last match. That's the only way. So I would probably do Punk versus LA. I don't know how they would mix in Braun Breaker, but just looking into the near future, not the far future, if Braun Breaker isn't the world champion, say Royal Rumble time, this feels like a dropped ball because
Yeah.
they did more than put the rocket to his back now.
Hmm.
He's already up into the atmosphere. They got to make sure the flames don't die down. They put enough fuel in that so he gets all the way up there.
This is maybe like off the beaten path idea of something they could do, and I do completely agree. You can't wait until Mania. I know they love to wait until the big 3, 4, 5 PLEs to really give the guys their moment. Everybody wins the title at WrestleMania because it's the biggest moment. But the way the cookies crumble sometimes, you don't have that long right now with Braun Breaker. The Rumble, the latest. If he wins the belt at the Rumble, that's the latest. Anything past that, you're really dragging this out then here. LA versus CM Punk Saturday Night's main event, right? It sound weird. How does Braun not find his way in that match, How does LA find his way in that match without Braun also finding his way in? CM Punk's obviously number one contender. LA never got pinned. Jay got pinned, so Jay's out of the picture, sure. Maybe they do another, they do a bracket over the next week or two. I don't know, whatever. It's one way or another you find LA in the match without Braun. Singles match, championship on the line. Again, we want to remember Saturday Night's main event fondly. It's a world title match vacant, going to be a new champion. It's a fan favorite regardless. LA Knight, CM Punk. End of the match. You just have Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker come out and beat the shit out of both of them. I know that's kind of repetitive to a lot of what they've done during Monday Night Raw, but Braun Breaker kind of makes that stamp. Nobody's being champion but me. Ends the match essentially, beats the shit out of both of them. I do see a new member of the Vision coming sooner rather than later, probably again by the Rumble, the latest. Maybe that's not as soon as, sooner rather than later, but still, uh, I can see something like that maybe happening. It seems a little, again, there is a time frame where you got to put the title on Braun, but it seems too quick to put the title on him by Saturday night's main event to me. I think Survivor Series fits the bill a little bit more, which is only 2, 3 weeks later. I think that's a better moment for Braun Breaker.
Yeah, in that aspect, like timeline wise, it might be perfect where LA Knight wins the title at Saturday Night's main event, has that 2 week reign, and Braun Breaker takes it, and he goes on till at least Mania,
and,
whatever.
and then Punk can beat Braun and
Yeah.
finally get his legitimate run instead of it being Seth or Roman or Gunther. Maybe, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It does suck. I know people, and I agree. The Punk Rollins story was, it's been going on for
Yeah,
a while.
but it has been
Uh,
bad.
it has not been bad. And also, like, the payoff now. It doesn't hit the same if it's just Braun Breaker that slides into that spot. The history isn't there, but I don't know. Maybe they do just say, hey, this is a quick swap. We're just going to immediately put the title on Braun Breaker. And after a couple weeks, again, I've mentioned this guy's name. I'm just using him as filler. Tony D is going to join the team
Mhm.
to help them, you know, when he defends his title for the first time against Punk, whatever. And then you have your new faction built. I do think they need some weeks of the Heyman story because the Heyman story is now a big aspect of it because he clearly didn't know, but he joined them. Are they going to have it where Heyman is bought in like right away? Are they going to have Heyman be kind of pessimistic for a little bit? Heyman was the one hyping them up and telling them, hey, if he doesn't do this, he's not worthy. You guys are, blah, blah, blah. So maybe Heyman kind of comes out to be the mastermind behind it all. I don't know. That's what we get these next few weeks. Another key point of all of this, and I'm shocked we haven't really talked about it until this moment. Another key point is Brock. What is the Brock aspect in this? I know there was the rumors that them three and Brock and maybe someone else would be the War Games team. I don't know. But now, is it crazy to say that I am now even more interested in a potential Brock Lesnar versus Braun Breaker matchup or Bronson Reed? Because you have these guys that Heyman is quickly putting a lot of stock into, more than we've ever seen of up and coming guys since Brock Lesnar. And there's that little bit of jealousy, a little bit of, hey, I understood when you were with Rollins and Roman, but these guys are kids. Why aren't you in my corner? I'm not saying Brock's going to turn face or anything like that, but I'm like, damn, a Brock Lesnar Bronson Reed or a Brock Lesnar Braun Breaker match feels even bigger now.
Yeah, I think there's a way to set it up too, where I think you kind of have Brock play the same role he's been playing, where when he does show up, when he does come back, whether he is in War Games teaming with Breaker and Bronson or going up against Gunther or whatever, Brock Lesnar still wants Paul Heyman at his side. He still wants Paul Heyman, making the ring announcements. Seth didn't stop Heyman from doing that. Seth didn't care, but Braun Breaker will, and Braun Breaker should. What if that's how it happens? Brock Lesnar comes out, wants Heyman again. They're going to have a discussion, and Braun Breaker stops that from happening. Or there's tension between all of them in the War Games match, and it leads to something like that. That could be the most legitimate way to hold off, and John Cena, like you said, hold off the immediate transition of the title to Braun Breaker. Is if they were to put him into a feud with Brock or put him into a feud with John Cena. Uh, Braun Breaker technically doesn't have a win over Roman Reigns. Bronson Reed does, and that is a fucking. I don't think people are like giving him the time of day for a win of that level. He's the only guy to pin a couple big, big, big names in not only WWE but in all professional wrestling. And Braun Breaker might need that still, and maybe that's the Brock Lesnar win before they officially put that title on him, because I think they're saving the Roman match with Braun still. That's a Mania main event. That could back-to-back some Manias. Who knows? Brock Lesnar, I've seen people pitching like Brock Lesnar teaming up with Division, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, maybe for War Games, but Brock ain't running the faction. Like that just doesn't fit the bill. It does lead me to kind of spitball just a couple names of who could join the Vision coming still. And it's really the same names we've talked about. You mentioned Tony D. It could easily be Tony D now more than it could have been in the past, with it being Braun Breaker's stable and them being real life boys. It makes sense. We could be totally off, and Tony D joins Pretty Deadly. We have no idea. Uh, Austin Theory has been pitched around, especially as of late, especially with the idea of him maybe being in War Games. Makes sense. I still think a face run might be imminent for Austin Theory. I got to throw Ilya out. I think with it being like young blood talent now, Ilya makes more sense than he ever has as well. Or it could be nobody. I guess there is still that chance, but it seems more likely than it has with the threesome of the Vision, with Seth involved. It seems more likely now that they will add another talent at some point.
I've seen Ilya's name from a few people. And it's funny because I thought about Ilya, but not in that aspect. I thought about Ilya. He is the money rival for them
He is absolutely the money
more than
rival. Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
He is the Daniel Bryan for the Randy Orton and Batista. Like
Mhm.
he is the perfect character. How he acts, his never say die unit, all of it. To me, it's like when Ilya finally comes back, I want Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed, whatever, to be the champion for a few months at that point, and we're building for months. And Ilya, he's almost got his Cody level where he needs to build his army, and he's getting some savages that can rally behind him because he is endless. He does not stop, and maybe it goes so long to where we get the return of Seth Rollins at that point, and Rollins is the one who helps Ilya conquer Braun Breaker, and then you can go into your Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins feud because Rollins is now back and healthy. You name whatever. But I do agree, and I mentioned I would like this faction to get someone else. A piece of me wants it to be one of two routes. Either they get like a Tony D or an Austin Theory, someone of that, you know, cut of cloth, or they get an actual tag team that joins them. And that's the
Interesting.
faction.
Yeah.
Like like a legit tag team. I'm
What
going to
tag
say
team?
these names.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying they're going to be the ones that join, but I think of like the Creed Bros,
Hmm.
where it's like, this is a tag team. There is no thought of these guys trying to become head honcho. Like these guys, they're probably going to win the tag titles. They're probably going to eat some pins, the two of them, when they're in 6 man and 4 on 4, 8 man tag matches, whatever. I want it to be they either get that Theory, Tony D, established guy, and you kind of run the three of them, or they get a tag team, and it is clear as day. Pecking order is tag team, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker.
Yeah, I don't hate that, a tag team joining them. Creed Bros obviously already in a faction, so I don't
Yeah.
expect it to be them. But yeah, like that caliber of young blood tag team makes sense. I guess the only issue is like I don't know if there is another tag team that I could really say would fit the bill of joining them off the top of my head. But I don't hate that at all. Brown Breaker kind of leading it, Bronson Reed. I guess that's my biggest gripe right now is that Bronson Reed has leveled up too. He is just as big main event talent as Brown Breaker. I don't Sean Ross posed that question. Kayfabe, why would they stick with Seth? Kayfabe, why would Bronson Reed just be okay with Braun Breaker being world champion and not him, you know? So it makes it a little tougher for me to believe that Bronson Reed would just be okay with being tag champ himself, even with Theory, or something over Braun Breaker. But I see you have a point.
I'm glad you mentioned Theory, because Theory and Waller, if they were still a team, would have been perfect to be
Yeah,
kind of like the team, like good looking guys, can be a little bit goofy, goony,
yeah,
that like will get under Braun Breaker's skin, but they still, can win the tag
yeah.
titles. They can eat some pins. It's not going to hurt them, whatever. Obviously, that's not going to happen given where we are right now. But I like started thinking, I was like, oh man, they'd be perfect. You have the tie of Bronson Reed and Grayson Waller. Like it all would have just been
That would have
that.
fit.
That's like my universe mode right there.
Yeah, that is. Waller's an underrated talent too. He deserves a lot more credit. So shout out Grayson Waller. There's no NXT tag team right now. There's no NXT tag team for a while to get called up. I think I would stop watching wrestling if they called up Dark State right now. So no shade on anyone in particular, but it's interesting. There is a lot of routes they can go. Again, the door is just wide open for the entire Monday Night Raw title picture, tag division, the vision itself. It just is wide open. Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, whether you add Theory, D'Angelo, Ilya, a tag team in and of itself. Another member is coming. I don't know when. I know I said sooner rather than later, but I don't know when. It does again seem like the breakup was made to happen quicker than it was originally supposed to as well. So anything is on or off the table now. Maybe they had plans for Theory to join it, but now they're scratching that and they'll go another route because it doesn't fit as well. Um, I got to mention a little bit about Seth and how I've seen some people saying right after this, oh, this is great for Seth. Have him go back to being babyface. It's fantastic. Whether he returns in a week or in 9 months after a potential injury, babyface Seth is so much better for this. Babyface Seth was getting stale. Seth is all around the best talent they've maybe ever had when he's said and done. Don't get me wrong. But, a lot of these guys and girls, when you're face or heel or this or that for so long, there's been eras where I could have done without Sheamus or the Usos because it was getting so stale. Seth wasn't there, but he was getting there. They had to turn Seth heel. And this has been generational heel work by Seth Rollins. The whole ruse of the century, the title run, forming the vision, taking Heyman under his wing, Heyman taking him under his wing, whatever way you want to look at it. The turn on Roman, everybody. It's been fantastic. It does feel a little bit like a disservice, even if it is 9 months out from surgery, for him to come back and be yucking it up as a babyface again. I think he needs to somehow stick to being a heel. I think even with unfortunate time off, that's the role for Seth Rollins right now.
Yeah, I said I wanted to talk about Rollins. One quick hitter before I get into the main thing.
Mhm.
Just irks me even more that he beat Cody as well. So it's like that massive moment, injuries suck. You can't like plan for him. You don't expect him to get hurt, but it's like shit. That was such the moment for him.
Mhm.
I wanted to talk about him specifically. Seth has had a crazy career. Some
Insane.
of the most historic moments in WWE, let alone wrestling. And I feel like, there's been plenty of times where people are like, oh, Seth has never been like the guy, whatever. And yeah, fair enough. But he's had so many title runs, so many big moments, main events, you name it. I do have to take a second and just say how fucking bad I feel for him.
Oh yeah, big time.
Because we were texting right after he beat Cody, and we were like, he's wrestler of the year.
Absolutely.
This,
Still is.
and Seth has had some crazy moments, some crazy years, from cashing in at Mania to the Stomp RKO that happened earlier in the night to beating Brock Lesnar at Mania, however long his Universal Championship title run, first world champion of the new title, you name it.
Dual titles.
Dual
No.
titles, yeah, with one of the best attires ever.
Yeah.
Shout out John Stewart. This, yeah, this happening. I was thinking about it earlier and I was like, fuck, man. I just feel so bad because, look, there's never a good time for an injury. Whether you say, oh, whatever can help their carry, whatever. He's still fucking human. He was on the best run of his career to a point where you start looking and thinking like, all right, how much does he have left in the fact of he's really just doing it all? Like there's going to be very few things left for him to do by the time this run is done. And from this run, we're going from the great feud with Punk, winning the main event at Mania, beating Roman and Punk, having Heyman join him, winning the Money in the Bank, the fake knee injury that fools the world, the incredible cash in at SummerSlam. He beats Cody in this crown jewel match. And then you start thinking, all right, he's still got this matchup with Punk. It seems like Mania's lining up for him versus Roman again, probably in the main event. And you start thinking, like, man, this is going to be one of the craziest runs ever. and he does a move that we've literally never seen before, a
Great.
coast to coast headbutt. That it's, again, injuries happen. He could have fucking rolled his ankle getting Adam Cole's injury where he breaks his damn ankle. Like,
Neville.
never, like, sometimes shit just happens.
Sin Cara broke his finger doing a
E-
suicide dive.
exactly. It does suck when it happens on a move that literally you never do. But man, I can't help but like I wanted to like really harp on that because as much as we've talked about Braun Breaker and the future of the world title and the future of the vision, you name it, I genuinely feel fucking terrible for Rollins.
Terrible. The coast to coast headbutt, it's not even in 2K,
Yeah.
you know, because no one does it. It's never
Yeah.
been done, you know? So it is an obscure thing to happen during an obscure move in a sense. It's a shame. A generational run, like I said, generational heel run. Uh, but the run dates even further back than that. Like you named a bunch of his accolades and still didn't name a bunch of his accolades. Like he is one of the top talents to ever do it. And an injury like this sucks for two things. The idea that we now lose Seth Rollins for, again, let's say 9 months if it's rotator cuff. A guy like Rollins who's had a bad knee is injured. His shoulder now injured. How many more injuries
He's
can you
back.
have? His back injured. How many injuries can you have where you've accumulated a loss of 2 years of time wrestling from just rehabbing the injuries, but then you also decide maybe retiring a year earlier than I originally planned is the move as well. I think the stragglers of the wrestling world, the AJ Styles, John Cena's, Rey Mysterio's, are far and few in between. A lot of these guys don't go until they're 50. The ones that do or go further and can keep up like they do, like especially Styles and Ray, way far and few in between. There's still some Ric Flairs and Hogans out there that should have stopped maybe before they did. But does this make Seth call it quits even sooner down the line? He still has some years left if all goes well, but he's also kind of never struck me as the guy that's going to keep going past the time he should keep going. I think a lot of this current talent knows when to call it quits. And it just sucks to see. Again, a generational run, generational talent. And this takes a lot of time off of his career potentially. Still wrestler of the year. He gets injured, is out for the rest of the year. I don't think it can get topped. I don't think there's enough time left for somebody to really beat him as wrestler of the year, which is insane to say that this guy can go 9 months wrestling, had a month off with the fake injury, and is still wrestler of the year. So it's only 8 months time. It's a shame. Sad to see. The run too would have been fantastic throughout the entirety of this heel vision run, and it would have been capped off in the long run with one of the greatest like transitions of talent, handing that title off at some point to Bron Breakker or Bronson Reed. And again, I guess that's still happening right now. Don't get me wrong. And you almost can't think this way because we don't know what would have happened. But part of me thinks if they would have rode this out till Mania and then Braun turned and then Braun wins the title off Seth, it would have been a maybe bigger moment for Bron Breakker in the long run. And it would have just really capped off Rollins as like the greatest to ever do it. Not only is he having the best run of his life, but he's creating new talent in better ways than we've ever seen.
Yeah, the new schedule that they have does help. And like, all right,
Absolutely.
he's gonna wrestle less. I am glad though that you, myself, and the honorary Oos 1,000,000%, Alec, we've all done what so many people on social media haven't done. We've been appreciating Rollins for a while. And there has been a stint, even in the last few months, but before that, like a weird turn on Rollins, especially when you go online. Like, we'll send it all the time. We're like, these people don't think Rollins is like good. Like, Rollins is one of the best ever.
Of
Like,
all
it's
time.
like mind blowing. And it is annoying in the fact that, like, now during his 9 months, you're going to see the same fucking video they post all the fucking time of him in the Shield doing the fucking the move, the flip, whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
man, pre-knee injury rounds, pre-injuries rounds, whatever. Like, blah, like, yeah, when you're in your 20s compared to when you're in your late 30s, of course you can do shit that you're not able to do. It's the same as AJ Styles doesn't do the spiral tap anymore. Like, you name it. You don't do those things. You don't move the same that you used to. But I'm just glad that we can sit here. And if Seth said, if he came out on Raw on Monday and he cut a promo and he said, "Oh, I was a little banged up," and then Braun Breaker speared me and it fractured this rib, and Bronson Reed hit the tsunami and it fractured another rib and it dislocated my shoulder, and now I need to get surgery and I'm calling it quits. And if he came out and said that, I would sit here and I would be sad as fuck, but I would be like, thank God I've always appreciated this guy and not taken him for granted, because he's been pretty clear that he's not going to go, he's not going to roll himself out held together by duct tape when he's in his mid 50s. He's going to stay in wrestling. He wants to, produce whatever it may be. He's talked about that openly. But I'm just glad that we can sit here and be like, we were appreciating him the whole time. And I was never one of those bozos online who was like, this is the most overrated guy ever. And it's like the guy putting on the fucking match of the night for 10 years straight.
Absolutely, really spot on. Thank God we aren't those bozos because there's many talent that we've always appreciated and always will, but Rollins is maybe at the peak of that. And if he did come out and retire, at least we can look back fondly on that. Uh, there has been a weird turn on him over the last like year or two online. It's not to the degree of maybe some other people, sure, but still like it's just the flavor of the day to a lot of these fans out there. Don't get me wrong, but that flavor of the day always changes. They would hate on Rollins today if he retired tomorrow. The next day, he would be the talk of the town again. And when he does retire, is when I think he will officially get his flowers. He still does from a large amount of the fandom, but it's not until a guy like Rollins is said and done where they're really going to put him on the mantle that I already put him in the upper echelon of best wrestlers to ever do it. He is with the Kurt Angles, the Shawn Michaels, the AJ Styles, the Eddie Guerreros, the Seth Rollins. I really think, total package wise, that's the bunch you put Seth Rollins in. And I'm looking forward to him getting those flowers one day. I hope it's not anytime soon, man. Even just hearing the thought of him maybe coming out and retiring, tears are starting to come. We'll see where it goes. The injury sucks. The new direction is good. Maybe it sucks in ways, but it's out of our control. So let's spice it up. Let's do something crazy. Let's have Bron and Bronson turn. Let's maybe get that world title on new guys like LA. Throw it back to Punk. Give Bron Breakker his big moment. Have him get that win. Become a true new main talent. There's a lot to look forward to right now.
Yeah, there's a ton. I mean, SmackDown last week felt brand new. Felt like, all right, this is can't miss for next week. It's all fresh. Raw. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still some aspects where it's like, all right, I'm kind of over this story or that story, whatever.
I mean, there's a tag title match next week, though.
I, I'm elated. Fucking
First time
fine.
for everything.
Yeah. With a thrown together team, but fine.
I don't
AJ
even
Lee.
care. Put the fucking titles on AJ Lee.
Literally
You have
anything.
to. You have to just to change it up. Please.
Yeah. But now it's can't miss. Right now it is can't miss. I'm very intrigued because now this is the hard part. You've got everyone's attention. You've done this big moment. Everyone is talking. It's this massive moment. Now you got to get rolling. You can't fuck it up.
They easily can fuck it up
They
too.
easily can.
Yeah,
They
that's
easily
the
can.
scary part. Yeah,
But you can't.
can't.
I'll be locked in. You'll be locked in. The people will be locked in. And as we always say, if it's good, we're going to tell you it's good. If it's shit, we're going to tell you it's shit. But I'm going to go out on a limb. Maybe it's me being the optimist. Maybe it's me being the guy who just watches the Eagles play their two worst games ever, and I'm changing my travel plan so I don't miss a snap of their next game. I have so much optimism for this story because to me, it's a prime example of in wrestling, especially WWE, when you have something drastic that happens, they always find a way. All right, we got to do something crazy now. We're throwing Kurt Angle in the fucking Shield. Like, you name it. We got to bring this guy back. We got to make this big moment, whatever. This is what it feels like. They got this big injury. All right, we got to go crazy. We got to be on our A game. We can't fuck around. We're doing this, 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 and this. I've got high hopes, man. I think they're going to crush it.
I do think so as well. To tail off your football analogy, being centered around optimism, I'm going into a Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback year. The optimism for me was high, so you just got to roll with your team, and it's turned out pretty good so far, so I'm hoping that's the same with this whole new storyline. I will deep down always be a little upset that we didn't get the grand scheme, the full picture of whatever this Vision faction was supposed to be in the long run, but make me forget about it. Make me go, this was the better choice. This was the right choice. Even if it was a last second trigger pull, make me go, wow, thank God they actually did that one. Because backstage, there's so many times they go, nah, let's not do it. Not today, not this time. Make this one of those moments where you have all the fans going, wow, thank God they did that. You can make that Braun Breaker turn in hindsight be the moment that gets played back for 10, 20, 30 years. That can be the new evolution turn that is played back over time, but you have to capitalize on that moment. I do think they're going to do so. I think the talent, the potential in Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed is too high not to. Hopefully all these other talents, all these other wrestlers stay away from some unfortunate injuries. But sometimes maybe it works out. I hope it
Yeah.
does now.
Let's turn a negative into a positive. And also, as we sign off, I'll leave on this positive. The day is over. It is midnight where I am. It's 1:10 where you are, or 1:11, 12:11 here. We are on to the next day. That means we are one day closer to Gunther being back.
One day closer to the GOAT. A little hard because you have a mic in hand, but we'll count it.
Yeah.
C2 Wrestling. Subscribe. Stay tuned in. Like the videos. Comment down below. What do you think is the next step for this new Vision? Braun Breaker, Bronson. I can't speak. Bronson Reed. I don't know. Let us know. If you don't, you're a fucking coward. That's my whole point.
Straight up, before we go, shout out Toph. Shout out. I'm so drained. I'm trying to think of who people in the comments.
Shout
What do
out
we
Toph. Shout out Austin Wrestling
Austin,
Alliance.
yes.
Shout out everybody. I, again, have been up for 76 hours at this point. So I'm losing my mind a little bit too.
You know who you are. We weren't able to live stream for Crown Jewel.
Yes.
All because your boy's been all around the country. Videos are still coming. Love you guys. Keep chatting. Get in the comments. Catch you guys next time.